Hello and welcome back. I am thirteene, and much like the rest of the internet tonight, we're going to be playing Cawblade. So I know that this is an original. When Stoneforge Mystic got unbanned, my first two thoughts were, we're going to play Cawblade! No, wait, we're probably going to play Grixis Control with 4K commands and 4 Snapcaster Mages. But you know what? This is basically a meme because this is the deck that set the power level for Modern as a format as we know it. So when Modern first became a thing, Jace the Mind Sculptor and Stoneforge Mystic were immediately banned just because of their impact in World Wake Standard. So, you know what? We're going to play it. That's just our life. Also, random side note, I figured out how to actually put our notifications up on a separate tab. It was impossible for me to manage Twitch and actually update our record, which I know I'm horrible at, and actually manage it. So I do appreciate all the followers, especially on Twitch. You guys are what keep us going, and the Twitch numbers are going to help us get sponsored, so really appreciate it. I'm sorry I haven't been shouting you out. I just haven't seen it. It's hard with the interface, but I think I have that resolved. But yeah, so Cawblade. We got Stoneforge Mystic. For those of you unaware, basically today was a massive, massive, massive day for bannings and unbannings. Stoneforge Mystic got unbanned, Faithless Looting got banned, as well as Hogak. So we kind of got Modern back. And yeah, Stoneforge Mystic. So this deck was originally in Standard and World Wake Standard. We have a couple of new additions, but the entire idea of the deck is we get Stoneforge Mystic. When it enters, we get to go search for an equipment, reveal it, put it into our hand. Then you can pay 2 mana to put any equipment in your hand into play. So very powerful. The card we're going to be comboing with is Batterskull. I'll reveal that in a second. But on top of that, we're also running with basically the OG Planeswalker himself, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Jace the Mind Sculptor was a very powerful Planeswalker, new card, didn't really get balanced all that well, but he's found a good home. And then last but not least, we had Squadron Hawk. So I know I've been playing a lot of Squadron Hawks lately, and so again, tonight just felt right. But Squadron Hawk allows you to play a Squadron Hawk, go get 3 Squadron Hawks, then you can actually brainstorm with Jace, put the 3 Squadron Hawks back in the deck, or probably more apt, 2 of them, crack a fetch land, cast the Squadron Hawk, and then draw 2 more cards. Just a ton of card advantage. So we're going to try to have some fun with that tonight. Then unfortunately, we can't read these cards. I will go over them in detail. I don't know why, but Scryfall thought my website was German. I'll have to resolve that. Batterskull, 5 mana, living weapon. So when it enters, you get a 0/0 germ that this equips to. And then Batterskull gives whatever creature it's attached to +4/+4 vigilance and lifelink. So it's going to enter as a 4/4 creature. Then you can pay 3 to bounce it back to your hand, and the equip cost is 5. So if you have 5 mana out, you can pay, or just across 2 turns, pay 3, return it to hand, pay 2 a Stoneforge, put it into play, get your 4/4 back, just super powerful. Then in Modern, Sword of Feast and Famine is actually the choice. Legacy, it's Fire and Ice. Modern, it's Feast and Famine. Sword of Feast and Famine gives +2/+2 protection from green and protection from black. When it hits a player, they discard a card and you untap all of your lands. They're just more prevalent colors in Modern, so that's what we're doing. Then we are actually running off the back shell of the deck, which is essentially blue-white control for the rest of it, including new Narset, new Teferi, Snapcaster Mage, just all the powerful cards, and that's going to bring up Cawblade. So I have a couple of fun ofs and all that, but sorry about that. We're going to try to do this as is. This is actually flagged as a competitive deck. The only fun of that I'm really running is Mana Tithe. We have a couple of powerful cards. And we got our first match. So, oh, look at that. Right off the bat. We have Spell Snare for opponent's turn 2 play. We get to run out our Stoneforge Mystic. This is what I always just wanted in a hand. And it looks like we're playing the mirror match. So hopefully our Spell Snare is going to be able to snag opponents. I should probably turn off auto yields just in case. Yeah, so I'm sure that most people aren't familiar with the streaming tools that people use, but Stream Decker is what we use for our deck lists. And if I go take a look at the recent decks, it's like Stoneblade, our Cawblade, Stoneblade, 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 like just everybody's trying to run this deck. All right. We can go ahead and keep Snapcaster because that's a solid turn 2 play. I'm expecting the opponent to have their own Spell Snare, but whatever. We're just going to play on curve. We're on the draw. We're going to do our best. Actually, that might be a mana leak. We have some rough draws here. Whatever. We're just going to start the tempo. It seems so unlikely that opponent has a spell snare as well. And we're just going to get our batter skull. Opponent gets to opt. And it is on. Opponent has the Helix, perfectly acceptable. And we drew a Squadron Hawk. That is part of the cost of doing business. So we do have 7 cards in hand. Snapcaster Opt is a consideration here, but I think I just want to run out a Squawks. We can go get one more. Won't have to discard to hand size. That slightly thins our deck, and we still get to hold up Spell Pierce if our opponent ends up finding their own thing. I'm kind of expecting Cryptic Command for the following turn. This is actually just looking like Jeskai control. I saw the Flooded Strand and was like, okay, mirror match, but that's likely not the case. Oh, and look at that, we got our turn. Okay, so I'm really not looking forward to just Snapcastering for no value, so I'm just going to run out another Squawks. Just get the last one out of our deck. Top decks feel bad. And hold up Mana Leak. I think that's the best we can ask for. Opponent did miss a land drop. They were on the play. Snapcaster Mage. Targeting Opt. Alright, whatever. That's a Spell Snare. We can go get a Hollowed Fountain so we have double white. Oh, that feels bad, opponent. I also need to remove the stop. We played against Soul Herder last night. Had to have that stopped so I could stop the trigger. Ooh, Colonnade. Lovely. Well, we are currently ahead, so I'm just going to press the advantage. Snapcaster, Spell Snares, decent. Mana Leak. Actually, I'm going to be Mana Leaking. Forget everything I just said. We're going to run out the last Squawks. Seraphix, you haven't been around for a bit. Last night I played Squawks and Oketra combo. Before that, I played it in Martyr Proc list. Before that, I played it in a... I'm letting this Snapcaster go. They're looking for a 4th land, and I'd rather have the Mana Leak for something valuable. Yeah, I played Squawks in like probably 3 or 4 of my last 5 or 6 decks. They've been running rampant. More importantly, Stoneforge is back! They are. They're addicting. That is a very easy trade. We have a Misspell Plains in our deck. I don't think opponent knows that. Opponent probably doesn't care. But geez, we get Spell Snare with Snap. Sorry, Snap, Spell Snare, and Mana Leak. I should probably phrase things correctly because one is dependent on the other. Oh, I'm sorry, opponent. You're not going to have a fun day today. It may have been more relevant to Snap Spell Snare there, but if opponent doesn't do something I care about, then, I mean, they're not going to Cryptic me. If they stick a Jace, then I guess that feels bad. So opponent's Jeskai, I want to take them off of red so they have less access to bolts. And given what they fetch, they don't have Blood Moon. Are they going to Cryptic bounce the land? Oh, ouch. Respect, opponent. You got it. Oh boy, Electrolyze made a heroic comeback. I think opponents metagaming harder than we are. Alright, well, a Flooded Strand will be able to get my Mistveil planes. I won't have 3 white sources, though, so I don't really care about the Squadron Hawk. I can run it out for essentially no value. The V-Click is going to be fairly powerful, but I'm going to be doing it in step. I think I've just got to let opponent do what they're going to do here. I'm still holding up Snapcaster and Mana Leak, so I do feel like we are still ahead at the moment. Electrolyze, that's a blast from the past. I haven't seen that since... I mean, it's been a long time. Clicking, I'm considering clicking myself, just getting rid of the squawks for a fresh draw. But it's likely going to be targeted at opponent. I really think they're holding a Planeswalker. That's interesting that they fetched. So they're considering something for 5 mana. The Electrolyze rips. Man, this thing has done some damage. Spell Queller, Helix, Bolt. Alright. So, Spell Queller can technically hit the most things, so it's going to be the Spell Queller. Yep, and opponent's tapped out, so this is going to be time to Batter Skull since they don't currently have an answer. I guess I could have drawn them into Force of Negation, but it's going to be so hard for them to deal with this. They're going to have to double bolt it, and then we'll just pick up the Batter Skull and replay it. I mean, sure. I mean, trading 2 cards for a 0/0 Germ is perfectly acceptable. Ooh, that's a Narset. So, Narset leaves 3 mana up so I can Snapcaster Spell Snare. I don't necessarily think that's good enough. Oh boy, that Electrolyze hurt. So I can Snap Up to try to find a land, suit up Snapcaster Mage. They'll just Helix it. And opponent likely has Cryptic up at this point, otherwise they would have been more efficient with their mana and Helixed. So I think I'm going to play this conservatively. Just run out the squawks, leave up Snap Mana Leak. We're going to lose a lot of value on this Mana Leak the longer that the game goes. Instep might actually just be a Snap Op since I have 2. Plus, Jace Bounce Snap is a very capable line. Remand. Okay. So they still have up Helix, so I want to get a Snap on the board. Let's target Mana Leak. I should have targeted Spell Snare. Oh no, because Mana Leak loses value the longer that this goes on. Spell Snare is still going to have value late in the game to hit a Snapcaster Mage or a Lightning Helix. Plus it's less mana. Alright, here you go, opponent. I'll be curious to see if they Helix at instep, because we are technically holding up the Batter Skull activation on the squawks. Wow. Okay. That's some deep tech. So that's probably in there to get a lot of value out of there to fairies. Uh, I mean, respect, opponent. You're definitely trying. Alright, so this is Snapcaster, Spell Snare, and Jace. So, alternatively, it's Equip Batterskull? Whatever, I'm just going to Narset. If they have a bolt, it's going to be targeted at Narset. And I might be able to protect her. Alright, well, opponent's going to know about it. That gets a lot of value out of Settle the Wreckage. Path is just cheaper. Then that leaves up Snapcaster or Path and pick up Batterskull. That's actually significantly more appealing. I don't know what to do. Alright, I guess it's just going to be Snapcaster for Opt. I am just looking for more gas at this point. Okay, that's fair. Moving sideboard, Dovin's Vetoes, definitely in. Circle of Protection Red, in. Elspeth is in here for John. Sword of Fire and Ice is more relevant than Feast and Famine in this matchup. We get access to Flusterstorm, and Surgical is a consideration. This is going to be a classic. They run cards, but Surgical can actually snag half of a Snapcaster activation, so that's probably relevant. We're going to see what we're cutting, though. V-Click is awful since they're actually on the Electrolyze. I still think Squadron Hawk is fine. This is multiple cards, and opponent shown that they're willing to burn a Squadron Hawk, even if it was a free card. Mana Tithe is probably out. This is going to go a little longer than expected. Spell Pierce is fine. Mana Leak did some work, but it's awkward. We are going to have a lot of 1 CMC spells that are soft, though. Yeah, Mana Leak for Fluster is probably what's changing there. Settle the Wreckage is just bad. 4 mana to get rid of a Snapcaster Mage isn't relevant enough. Then, is there any consideration for Surgical? It would probably be Cantrips or the Squawks. This package, maybe. Is this package worth Squawks? It's card advantage with Jace, but Teferi just locks them out of so much. Whatever. Teferi, you get to come in for an Opt. Why not? I think that's correct. All right. I love Gemstone Caverns as a 1-of and 2-color decks, and we're going to see the value here. So I have a very awkward starting hand, but this is turn 1 Stoneforge Mystic, and I also get to hold up Spell Snare. Yeah, this is fine. Gemstone Caverns! Take that, opponent! And that's probably going to be Jace. Narset actually generates the least value here. I'd rather have Jace as a finisher, despite the fact that it's further away. And that's a decent pitch to itself. Sword of Fire and Ice is good here, but Batterskull's just the best all-around threat. Oh, an opponent's not killing it during our turn. That means our Force of Negation may be live. This actually should have come out. This is a fair matchup. Force of Negation's not good in fair matchups. Follows the same laws as Force of Will and Legacy. Alright. Well, we missed our land drop, but we're also going to have a Batterskull. Opponent actually might be on Smash to Smithereens or Wear Tear. Hopefully this baits out removal on their turn. Because if they try to Wear Tear or something on their end step, I get to protect it. And they should do it while I'm tapped out, so that's probably the correct call. Do it! Do it! I couldn't do that fast enough. That's awesome. This might be a concession. It's really hard for their deck to deal with this. They either have another Wear Tear or Snapcaster Mage. If they have a Snapcaster, we have a Spell Snare. We're going to ride this Batter Skull to victory. Oh, wait, it gets exiled. Even better. And we have a Dovin's Veto. Actually, that was a misplay. I should have kept the other Force of Negation. I was trying to follow the logic that Force of Negation is bad in fair matchups, but as I have to ride this Batter Skull since I'm mana screwed, I should have actually gotten rid of the Jace there and just tried to ride this to victory. I could have up 3 counter spells here. And I probably should have attacked with Stoneforge Mystic. If opponent doesn't find something on the ground, I did lose a turn off my clock. Not that card, that card. And that's the game. Alright, that was pretty decisive. I do think we ran pretty well. I mean, we did kind of get mana screwed there at the end, but we did actually draw all the right cards for that matchup, so I'm okay to admit that. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so a little bit of Cawblade tonight. I'm sure everybody else is playing that. That's definitely what was on Stream Decker, but gotta have some fun with it. My girl Stoneforge Mystic got unbanned. Definitely good day. Definitely good day. Even better, Hogot got banned. Like, can't ask for much more than that. Our list is probably fairly stocked. My sideboard's got a little bit of fun ups with the Circle of Protection, the Ruined Halo. Main board, we have the Mana Tithe. I do firmly believe that sort of Feast and Famine is stronger in the current meta for Modern, where sort of Fire and Ice is better in Legacy. We played a blue deck, so we did make that sub, but that's where we're at. I am thinking we probably want a third Jace, just because of the strength of Jace and the actual Squadron Hawks, although that might be a little dated. I don't know about that. Well, we're on the play, and we have interaction if opponent's up to the same thing we are, which is what I'm expecting, so I'm happy with it. There could be an argument here for Path to Exile to be held up, but just going to start with the slow land. Inkmoth, Welding Jar, so Urza or Lantern? Wow, they really don't want me destroying their artifacts. This is looking a little bit more like stock Affinity just because of the Overseer. And because of the Overseer, 100% pathing now. Yeah, I don't actually think that Lantern plays more than a couple of Welding Jars. They typically like to whir for one to protect it if it's a problem. Technically should have done that during upkeep, but whatever. They have an additional mana. If this is Affinity, they shouldn't have too many bombs, and I still have a piece of removal ready for next turn. Yeah, they're going for Stirring, so yeah, seeing the Forest and the Stirrings here, it is probably Skells. Found a Hangerback. Hangerback for 1. Alright, opponent's going to try to go for it. Feast and Famine here can get us a lot of mana, but I don't think that's actually going to do much. I think we're just going to be on Batter Skull so that they can't ping us with Walking Ballista. It's probably going to be our most relevant equipment to pick up. Oh, and look at that. We even got a second path. Well, third. Sorry, technically third. Stoneforge Mystic. Let's go grab ourselves a Batter Skull. Then opponent has 2 cards in hand. We have 2 paths and a clock coming. That's going to be a Walking Ballista. So they get a kill Stoneforge before we get to put in Batter Skull, but we have 5 lands, so Ouch, we take one. The fact that they kept this Hangerback Walker back means that they're going to try to treat that as their primary threat, so I'm going to get rid of it. Meow. And look at that. I think we might be okay at drawing cards in this deck. So if they top deck an Arcbound Ravager, they can kill us with this Blink Moth, but we have to get our own clock down, so we have to fade for a turn. Go ahead and grab our sort of Feast and Famine, and that was a mistake. I should have ran out Field of Ruin before I cast the Stoneforge Mystic. I just got excited when I saw her. Still a lot of emotional feelings here. If I would have put Field of Ruin out first, I could have blown up the Inkmoth Nexus. I wouldn't have been concerned about the top deck. Right now we're taking 2 Infect. I guess that wouldn't have mattered. They had the Welding Jar, so they could have protected it by animating it. Field of Ruin. Okay, well, definitely going to be running out the Snapcaster this turn, so I think we're just going to sit back and look pretty. Actually, they can't animate. Nope. We're doing this now. So if there's no crap moment, we get a Snapcaster. If not, Batterskull comes in, then sort of Feast and Famine, equip, swing for 6. And they have Hardened Skeletron. All right. Oh, that's not a bad backup plan if they find an animation module. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and Sword and Feast and Famine. This does take Path off, but we're also going to kill their only creature, so it's very unlikely they'll be able to kill us. We're also going to gain 6. They're blocking with the Blink Moth? Oh, that's so that the modular moves over. Yep. I'm up to speed. Good play, opponent. But that's likely on chump block duty this turn. Alright. I should have gotten Misfell Plains there. Actually, I shouldn't have cracked the land in case I top deck a Jace. But that's fine. Sequencing is I want them to animate this. Oh, they're just going to let it go? I suppose that makes sense. It's not lethal yet. I don't have a use for the mana, so it is what it is. And I'm just going to do this now. Probably prompt a concession. I can wait for interaction, but I'd rather not give them the option of top decking. During their upkeep's probably more appropriate in case they top deck a Walking Ballista, but there we go. Alright, sideboard. We have Disenchant. We have Echoing Truth. We have Dovin's Veto. Probably not worth it. The way that modular works is the creature will die, so since we don't have Rip, that's likely not going to be as big of a consideration. Surgical won't stop anything there. Ruined Halo can name either Inkmoth Nexus or Walking Ballista if we think that either one of us can kill us at any point in time. Flusterstorm can only snag Ancient Stirrings, so it's probably not worth it. Dovin's Veto can hit Hardened Scales if it's not turn 1, Animation Module, Ancient Stirrings. This might be a maybe. Let's take a look at what we got. I think I'd rather have Dovin's Veto over Force of Negation. That on turn 1 is appealing, but otherwise I'd rather have the the Dovin's Veto. Mana Tithe is cute, probably not worth it. They can invest into some big stuff, and that can snag it. Echoing Truth, Mana Leak, Snap. I have to cap 4 things. Settle the Wreckage is fine. Supreme Verdict's awkward. Most of the stuff I care about is going to be manlands. V-Click can still block their flyers. Teferi doesn't really stop a whole lot. Bouncing a creature with tokens is good, though. Is this the Squawks package? This might just be the Squawks package. Spell Snare hit Steel Overseer and Arcbound Ravager, so it's definitely worth our time, especially with Snapcaster. I think this is just going to be Squawks out, Teferi in, just because he hits the counters. Let's see what we got here. Our deck has been so kind to us today. I don't know why. Yeah, this is fine. So we're going to Gemstone Caverns, and we're going to get... Opponent's currently on 6. I could see tucking any number of these. The Ruined Halo's probably the slowest here, so that's going to go away. Opponent does keep their 6. Could have just been the Op. The Op replaces itself. And I'm on board for a land. I'm going to go Flooded Strand because if I don't have to use a 2-mana spell, I'm likely going to go get my Mistveil Plains. Hanger back for 1. That's honestly not that big of a problem, so it can stick around. Next turn we'll have 3 mana to counter, or we can just Echoing Truth it. Like, we have options. Mistveil Plains. So I can get a Hallowed Fountain here, but I want to save the shuffle effect since I have 4 mana for Jace. And of note, Echoing Truth cannot bounce a manland, so I'd prefer to use that on a creature if the opportunity arises. How much of their board are they going to eat here? I'm just going to be mana efficient. And again, opponent is currently trying to use this Hangerback Walker as a threat. So, happy to let them invest in it, let them sink some mana, play off tempo. They don't even have a Hardened Skells to make it very threatening, so... Ah, and they're going for the Ink Moth. I'm going to Path just because I don't like the creature and it's still mana neutral. In fact, can kill us out of nowhere, so I'd prefer to take that away as an out for them. Hey, they had another one. Alright, that opt for the island is kind of biting me now. We've drawn pretty much nothing but lands. To be fair, for opponent's deck, they're flooding out fairly hard too. Alright, since I do actually have a Batter Skull, oh, that's just awesome. Yay, Echoing Truth. I'm going to go get my Hallowed Fountain. I do lose a shuffle effect, but I feel like it's worth it just because it gives me more color fixing. Wow, that is so heart-wrenching. This Mana Leak also likely lost text unless the opponent goes for a Walking Ballista. Nurturing Peatland's a good addition to their deck. Actually, what's likely going to happen here is I'm going to Echoing Truth the Hangerback Walkers and then Mana Leak it on the way back down. That feels bad because it ends up being a 2-for-1, but it's a huge tempo. They've been investing in these guys for a while. I guess our deck had to actually finally get back to us. So I'm going to keep this in hand, partially because a Jace Brainstorm I can use as a shuffle, and it's also another card that I can just tuck to a Jace. Getting more lands out onto the battlefield isn't going to benefit me much. I mean, I think we're running 24 lands. 3, 7, 8, 11, 14, 17, 18, 22, 23. We are running 23. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of 23 in our top 16. Oh boy, I don't think I can double counter that. I can, it's just not worth my time. I have other concerns. I guess countering that would have meant I wasn't getting attacked by Ink Moth. Alright, so apparently a 4/4 is worth getting. An opponent will have 2 4/4s next turn and try to swing in for 8. Yeah, that's bouncy time. If we're at 14 and an opponent's attacking for 8, perfectly happy to bounce there. I'd love a threat, though. Like, we have plenty of them. A Teferi would be great. Yep, you got it. That's a path. I really don't think that benefits me at all, though. It requires opponent to draw a 2 CMC thing and, like, fully invest out. Alright, both Ink Moths get in. It's probably going to be a full-blown alpha. Bouncy, bouncy. And this puts me on a 7-turn clock here, and this is going to be a 4-turn clock here. If I path this, it goes up to a 7-turn clock. Not very happy with how this is going down. There's likely a hanger back for 1 because it enters with 2 counters. Oh, that's even better. I like countering that. Narset! Another Narset and Opt. So I'm assuming opponent's actually going to attack me. So let's go ahead and just take the Opt. I do want the land now in case I find something for 3 CMC, and in case I find a Teferi, I'm doing it now. Yep, that's acceptable too. We'll go get a Batterskull. Look at that, we found one thing and our hand actually like sculpted into being usable. Alright, so it looks like they want to... One at me, 2 at Narset. I can just hardcast this Batterskull. Am I willing to make that change? No, because Teferi will also get me my sword. You got it, Narset. You took 1 for the team. Opponent still can't draw. honestly wasn't expecting that. I'm going to keep this for a shuffle effect. Wow. The deck does not like us today. I'm about to pull up the calculator on that one. So we have 2 coming in the air at us. The hangerback walker is probably going to die. And actually likely just going to be chump blocking for myself here, so let's Spatter Skull. Or they're going to try to grow the hangerback after blocking. That's actually more relevant. They found all 4 ink moths. Oh, yep, I think that kills me. 3 counters, dead. Nice line. Opponent's definitely been playing this deck a while. They are finding everything they need to go off. Respect. I don't think I change anything. I think I just need to draw more than 3/4 of our lands in the top third of our deck. Supreme Verdict could be a consideration. I honestly think all of our cards are better suited. Although Spell Pierce, we're on the play. Spell Pierce is good on the play. All right, we have 1 land and an Opt. Can we make this happen? Stoneforge Mystic. We already have the Batter Skull. No, that's a terrible hand. This is acceptable. I'm not excited about it, but it's acceptable. Ship back one of the extra paths. And opponent goes to 6 as well. All right. Well, at least it wasn't a hardened scales on one. So opponent's likely going to have a turn 2 play. The turn 2 plays are mostly creatures, so just going to get my Stoneforge Mystic on, expecting to have put in Batter Skull and Path to Exile up next turn. That's a Mimic. That can get ridiculous kind of fast. Although they didn't make any 0 drops for it. Alright, let's see what opponent's up to. Steel Overseer. You got it. Arcbound Worker. I didn't even consider pathing the Mimic in response to the Arcbound Worker because the Steel Overseer is such a bigger target. Batter Skull comes in. We get a 4/4. We're just going to go to Plains and path the Overseer. Thanks to Vigilance, our Narset's going to survive, so let's get in and swing in. I doubt that they're going to trade 2 for the Germ Token, but gotta offer. Oh, they're thinking about it. Oh no, they're thinking about using the Arcbound Worker to grow the Mimic. That's fair. We have used a path, but we also have Snap Path up, so I'm probably not a fan of that line, but it is something they can do. Run out Narset, find ourselves another bomb. Settle the Wreckage is probably our best draw here. Ob can try to find another threat, but I don't think it's relevant. Spell Pierce, they haven't had anything worth piercing yet, so settle, run that out. They're also at 4 mana, which is kind of high for this deck. Opponent's been playing really well. I would not expect them to sack Peat Land on their turn. Just because of Narset, they wouldn't be able to. Oh, I found an Overseer. That's kind of a live draw. Ballista for 0. So if they want to get shenanigan-y, what they're going to do is Pendlehaven the Walking Ballista and then shoot my Narset so I can't activate her and keep her around. But that's apparently fine by me. Deck says we're greenlit, so let's see what you want to do. I could also see blocking with the worker here, loading up the Ballista. Put in some options. Just lets it through, huh? Okay. Disenchant. That's a good one. We're going to opt for a land. Rip. Alright, disenchant it is. Then hopefully opponent overcommits into Narset. I think that's the best thing that could happen for us. They likely don't care about our life total at this point, and they also don't have a lot of draw. Ancient Stirrings will just put it into their hand. That's pretty good. Mistfell Plains. Still a land, but a land. That was not right. They should have shot Narset. It would have killed Narset and made it so that we didn't gain life. Alright. Honestly, not surprised by that. It's going to be sad when we cast another one, but we have counter magic up. Of note, I'd love a Snapcaster Mage here, but I don't really have a way to get one. And this Phyrexia's Core means that they can sack the Arcbound Worker whenever they feel like it, and move it over to the Ballista, so our stuff isn't actually that safe at the moment. Healthy life total fixes a lot of things, but yep. And again, 2-color Gemstone Caverns, top deck, late game, not a problem. Huge fan of putting it in 2-color decks. So I actually just told opponent what I was doing here, so I'm going to tap out and then pause for a second. I mean, bluff when you can. I'd prefer they didn't know I had a Narset coming down. Because what I'm expecting to happen is the Phyrexia's Core sack the artifact, move the counters over, possibly just start shooting things with the Ballista. I mean, it's coming at some point in time. They can fog the combat step, grow the Ballista, and they let it go. Mildly confused by that, but I will look for another bomb. Looking for a path here. Or our opponent just scoops it up. Alright, well, move to 2-0 with Cawblade. Really haven't seen the Caws do too much other than get shot down by Electrolyze, so that's a little sad, but Cawblade doing Cawblade things. It is showing its power. Stoneforge is a powerful magic card. There was a reason it was on the ban list. It was underpowered for what's on the ban list, just because it was banned at the start of the format, but I love my girl. She's doing right by me. To update my record. I'm so bad at that. Also, very surprised we haven't seen the mirror yet. It's possible the Jeskai opponent was on Stoneblade, but they never showed it to us. right, we have two tap lands. I don't think I can keep this. Actually, we're on the draw. This gives me two shots at a land to land the Squadron Hawk, and then I can't really refill. This is Force of Negation in the meantime. If I do have to force, the Squawks can refill. I'm going to gamble on this. It's not an amazing hand, but it definitely does what I need it to. Yep, that's not worth countering. That's not either. That might be, but we're going to let it go. Hallowed Fountain. So I can hold up Spell Pierce for... They're not going to pressure my life total until they're going infinite or have a giant Urza thing, so I'm just going to take the shock and hold up Spell Pierce. Although I need to turn off auto yields because Mox Opal is technically live. The shock is probably telling an opponent that we have a Spell Pierce. It's possible I'm just holding up a path, but given the fact that the opponent's deck is known at this point, it's pretty unlikely. I guess I could be holding up path for the Red Engineer. Yeah, that's a no-go. Nope. That. I'm good at this game. I've played it before. I just had on my mind I want to get cards out of my hand for the Squawks. Turn 2 Teferi, not on my watch. So I want to make my turn 3 play. I technically have 2 untapped lands. Yep, alright, we can just Glacial Fortress and start going off. So Squawks here can only get 2 birds before I have to discard the hand size. At least this wasn't a Force of Will. We didn't pay a life, so opponent didn't know what we were trying to pay for. Alright, so they are... Actually, they might be Narset Were. I'm not actually sure what opponent's up to. So let's just play our land so we can hold up the Force of Negation, move to combat. They're not going to do anything to our Squawks. It's not a fast enough clock. But because they are getting basics, I'm going to go get my blue source here. The Mistveil Plains could be relevant if they start killing our creatures, but it's more likely they start exiling from what I've seen out of them. And I suppose... So they're holding up Hardcast Force of Negation. Another Squawks is a 9-turn clock, which isn't really relevant. I can try to opt. I have 2 bombs. I care less about Narset sticking, so let's just run out Narset. She's good. She has to be answered, but Teferi's going to do more work if this is a control deck. And down ticking might be weak if they're on red, but I'm getting the read that it's Urza, despite the fact we've seen 1 color instead of 4. So let's take the path. Batterskull can always get fetched with Stoneforge Mystic, so no need to keep it in hand for no reason. We don't have a Jace to tuck it back into our deck. That's no. That's a bad opponent. Bad. I cast Planeswalkers. Bobble targeting themselves, so they're looking for a threat. They didn't find one. Cracking the fetch. Gets a tap land for no apparent reason. Okay. I'm going to get the... Oh, the Scalding Tarn can't get Mistveil Plains. Let's take a look, see if there's something else I want. Sort of Feast and Famine's probably going to be the best. Keep them off their draws. We don't really have a way to cheese into play yet. I don't think I care about the path at the moment, so let's just slam Teferi and see if opponent scoops it up. well, we have stacks on board. We're going to hit them with a Sword of Feast and Famine and untap our lands next turn. If this is cracking to thin, Thopter Foundry. Alright, well, let's do what we do best. Teferi's out, so opponent can't interact with us. Let's go ahead and suit up the bird. Then sequencing is I want them to discard, and then I'll bounce the Thopter Foundry. Actually, it doesn't matter. I guess I can draw Force of Negation or Mana Leak, so that might be relevant. Teferi's Son? I guess that works. That's an activated ability. Probably should have bounced it pre-combat. Do I care? So they would have to slam Urza and find a good way. Yeah, they can technically kill me next turn if they have all the right cards. So let's go ahead and bounce it. Likely sacking the Opal because it doesn't tap for mana. Can also kill Narset. Oh, they really want to kill Teferi. Alright. Also counters my card draw. Pretty good play. Yeah, I was just so excited to hit with Sword of Feast and Famine. I didn't really think it through. I get both walkers. Color me impressed. Guess it depends on what they're holding, but we're still in a pretty decent spot. We get attack with Colonnade and hold up Path. I also probably want to cast one of these Squadron Hawks. Get the last one out of the deck. Don't want that to be a top deck. All right. That's a Teferi. That's kind of unfortunate. That's a Narset. That's kind of okay. So, likely bouncing Sword. And I guess we see what opponent's on. So if they actually get a Thopter Foundry, they can generate a lot of tokens and gain a decent chunk of life, but that's a Mistveil Plains. Well, opponent has no cards in hand. Wow, we whiff. Should have taken that other Squadron Hawk out first. That is a minimal thing we could have done. So I can path now. I can just run out of second birds. They will have to draw exactly removal to get through my birds. Mistveil Plains will actually start tucking birds back in. Also give us shuffle effects for our brainstorms. I need a Jace. We need 3 Jaces in this deck minimum. Path my other Squadron Hawk, which means I can't start tucking them. The verbiage on Mistveil Plains is you have to have at least 2... Actually, yes, I can. So I just have to do the trick where I do it with the trigger on the stack. That's a colonnade. I could always activate colonnade and get the effect. First things first, let's see what she finds us. That's a path. Opponent has no cards in hand, so let's just go ahead and kill Teferi. So it's going to cost 4. White, blue, blue, blue. Colonnade out because... Oh, I guess that doesn't matter. Okay. And for some reason I was thinking I was getting the Sword and Feast and Famine trigger here, but I'm just going to go for the kill of Teferi. Then I control 2 white permanents. Let's go ahead and just tuck the Squadron Hawk. I could have sequenced that really, really better. It is a combo, I just did not do it very well. Alright, Field of Ruin is a decent draw. This is going to be Feast and Famine. Attach. And I can't do Colonnade yet this turn, so what I'm going to do is Squadron Hawk. Go get my other Squadron Hawk. Hit opponent. I'm going to put Teferi back in my deck because I feel that's relevant. Then I need to keep this Squadron Hawk so that I can recast if they kill one. I should have activated Field of Ruin too. I can still do that whenever I feel like it though. I should have 2 islands I can still tutor. 1 island I can still tutor. I actually might need to leave that as a shuffle effect. Yeah, field's not happening yet. Mana Leak, not very good at the moment. I don't really think there's much value to it, but let's go ahead and tuck our Narset. Put opponent to 1. Maybe I was supposed to run out Squawks last turn. Opponent taking the honorable way out. I respect that. Dovin's Veto, Echoing Truth, Ruined Halo, it doesn't really matter. They're going to gain infinite life more than likely if they're going to win. Sword of Fire and Ice comes in over Feast and Famine. Teferi comes in. Surgical Extraction for the combo. Flusterstorm can snag some of their interaction. They really only showed us Path to Exile that we care about, though. They're going to be a little bit more permanent based. Disenchant's good against everything but Sword of the Meek. And that's a lot of things we need to trim. So I actually... Am I trimming the Stoneforge package in this matchup? Because that's the first thing coming to mind to actually remove a lot of cards. Just turn into blue-white control. I mean, these are our threats, though. We're going to have to win with Jace if we do that. I don't want to do that. That might be correct, but I don't want to do it. Mana Tithe can come out. All these cards are pretty good. Settle the Wreckage comes out. Supreme Verdict can snag Urza. It's bad, though. If they're comboing, they're going to have a lot of creatures. I really don't like any of the removal. We are the aggro deck. Alright, I guess that means we're on Squawks. They can't really get in through the Thopters anyway, so that's probably the most relevant thing. Squawks and Jace is so good, and we still haven't done it. We have a winning record, but we haven't done it, and I'm not very happy about that. If I'm going to be running Mystics, I probably want to be running all of them. I'm closer to cutting a cantrip. The Spell Snare can only snag the Thopter Foundry, but it can snag Thopter Foundry, so it's probably worth keeping. Mana Leak is kind of meh, especially if they get Urza online, but we just need to make sure they don't get Urza online. This is looking like what I want to run. The path is also awkward. I could see trimming a single path and just try to play more of a counter game, but if Urza sticks, we have a problem, so I think that's where we're at. Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, we're not keeping that. That's okay. It's slow on the draw. The V-click actually should have been cut. I think I'd rather have an opt over a V-click in this matchup. But this is a Celestial Colonnade. Try to find something that's relevant when I see how opponent's deck is turning out. So we'll do that and just tuck the V-click. V-click with equipment on it's pretty good, but actually I think I'm going to try to opt on one. Opting on one to try to find a Stoneforge Mystic actually feels like the best line. Yeah, if we don't find it, we do have the Colonnade. Yeah, Snapcaster for opt isn't good enough at the moment. Rip. If opponent drops their hand with a Mox Opal, they can probably stick Urza, but it's not likely they have the mana for it. Slowest hand ever. Opponent also really likes their Teferis. I'm expecting this to be a Teferi. That's a Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. What are you getting? Sword of the Meek. That's spicy. I feel you, opponent. Colonnade. Wow, this hand has not been shaping up. So hopefully opponent tries to go for the combo and we just snag this sword. I'm guessing that's the best that can happen is they try to Thopter Foundry here and then... That's an Urza. So they can still float the blue here. But I know that's what I'm doing, so... Rather not give them the opportunity to drop more Cheerios and get more mana. Alright, the way this is shaping up, I think I have to use Jace. So I Jace Brainstorm, the Construct kills me. I Jace Bounce the Construct, they play the Sword of the Meek, and equip it, Stoneforge Mystic kills Jace for free. Jace Brainstorm at least lets me see 2 additional cards, and I can shuffle away. It's such a bad Brainstorm. I think I have to wait 1 turn and try to use Jace with the Brainstorm with a mana up so I can path whatever they try to equip the Sword of the Meek to. I will respectfully take my beats, likely taking round 6 this turn. Yep, there's the sword. So I am technically leaving up Cryptic Mana, which is just a habit because I play a lot of blue-white. But I should have ran out the Mistveil Plains last turn because it's a tap land. There could have been an argument to get blue there in case Blood Moon's on my radar. Spell Pierce. Well, that's kind of protection for the Surgical Extraction. That's a Force of Negation. Alright, I'm going to ship back the Pain Land and the Tap Land. Then I guess Jace is just going to eat it. I ended up not bouncing the token because the opponent's going to have the ability to create a couple of Thopters here, regardless of if I Surgical the Sword of the Meek or not. This is another Sword of the Meek. Good line from opponent. Nope, it's a Batter Skull. They just hard drew it. Alright, life goes downhill pretty quickly here. What is my out? I can draw. Honestly, don't care about that. That's basically just a Thopter. If they would have equipped the sword, would I just let them kill me? Oh, they're ignoring Jace. I'm actually just not going to show them the surgical extraction. I'd rather they not know about it. And they pretty easily took that one. Alright, Ruined Halo. New considerations. Can't call Germ Token. Can't really call Thopter Token. To settle the wreckage. Gets a little bit of appeal, not much. Mana Tithe is still just cute. I don't think it's good enough long term. The V-Click can definitely come out for the Thopters, though. I'd rather have the Opt. And I guess we run it back. I mean, I could have mulliganed a little harder there. That just feels like such a losing battle. Yeah, this is fine. We don't really interact with our opponent anything outside of the disenchant, but when opponent's an artifact deck, we definitely get disenchant. And we got another disenchant. Stoneforge. Do I want Sword of Fire and Ice here? You pretty much always want Batterskull, especially if you think you're racing it all. But given the fact that it's pro blue, it was kind of worth a consideration for a moment. Most of the opponent's interaction's probably going to hit the sword, not the creature, though. Let's see what opponent happened to work themselves into. This pause makes me think that they have a 2-drop or potentially just a 1-drop and a slow land. Either that or they're just answering the door, petting the cat. Opponent has their own Stoneforge Mystic. Getting Sword of the Meek. We found another Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, well, definitely slow landing it because we can double spell next turn. We'll just pass it over to opponent and see what they happen to go for. We can disenchant if we need to, otherwise we have the Batterskull. It's nice seeing Stoneforge Mystic again. I have Stoneblade in Legacy, but I typically try to play piles. Cast pile. I also haven't played since like Deathrite Shaman got banned, so I'm probably just feeling a little nostalgic. Opponent is definitely tanking on this. They must have some options. I'm expecting Path to Exile and either the Batterskull or something similar to us. Like they either have 2 pieces of removal or a piece of removal and the Batterskull. Okay, as long as they're tapped out, I'm just going to hit this. No, I'm not. They're still going to be tapped out next turn. That's not how turns work. This is my turn. Alright, that doesn't really help me as much as I'd want it to, but it is technically an untapped land if I want it. So I don't want to tell opponent I have the disenchant. Let's just swing first. Disenchant you. Come Mox Opal, so they have 4 mana here for Urza. If they untap with the Urza next turn, that's a lot of mana. Yep, there's the Urza. Another Astrolabe. This was a good Magic card. Being Snow up fit into a lot of decks. I'd prefer it was like a Snow hybrid. I understand that that's way too hard to put on a card, but... That's a Teferi. So, do I want to disenchant? If I disenchant, I am basically just sitting the Construct. Do not need another land. Hey, look at that, my own Teferi. Yep. Unfortunately, because opponent Teferi'd first, they have the advantage here. So I can suit up Batterskull on Stoneforge Mystic and swing in. I can bounce the Construct, which is probably my line, and have up Disenchant that can't do anything because Teferi's protecting their combo. I really don't like what War did. Everything's just super prisony now. That's an Echoing Truth. What does Echoing Truth do? I think Echoing Truth does something next turn. They have the Sword of the Meek. They have the Urza. If they have the Thopter Foundry, they just win here. So I can bounce the Urza, but the Urza is basically free. I think I have to spend my turn getting a Sword of Fire and Ice so I can get in past Urza and bounce all their tokens. If we get comboed, though, we get comboed. If not, Echoing Truth the Stoneforge Mystic, swing in, hit the opponent, kill their Teferi. This looks like a second Urza. No, they're activating, so they don't have it. At least not yet. Scalding Tarn. That's the way you wait to play your land. New Teferi. Bouncing Astrolabe. It cantrips and is technically free. I could also see them bouncing. Yep. They think that makes it harder for me to attack, but I'm perfectly okay letting them go get their Batterskull if it means killing their Teferi and drawing a card. Plus I have a Disenchant, so... Alright, yeah, you got it. Oh, we even got a Dovin's Veto. So 3, 2... Oh, that won't actually leave up any mana to interact with now. Yeah, the Stoneforge Mystic was going to make that cheap. So I'm reading opponent has Path here. Which means I just have to go to kill Teferi. Alright, well my life total doesn't matter so far, so... Although that was a flooded strand. Should have gotten the Mistfell Plains. It's weird having tutorable effect things that aren't just Dryad Arbor. Oh yeah, there's a Teferi. Fun Fair Magic card. No point in just random shuffling. So I think this is putting me on sort of Fire and Ice and hoping opponent doesn't have another path. If they find another land here, they get 2 spins at Urza. Yep, but that means it's sort of the Meek's not coming down this turn, which gives me a turn to draw into Surgical Extraction. We have the answers, but this card means we don't interact with the opponent, and that's incredibly depressing. Like, literally, this is just a dead card. I probably should have thought about that. Looks like that bauble might be used for mana this turn. But opponent's trying to piece it together. They do have a lot of pieces to play with. This Teferi just makes me so sad. And from this pause, it sounds like they have another Teferi, and they're considering bouncing my Stoneforge Mystic. Yep. This opponent definitely likes their Teferis. Wait, they bounce a Sword of Fire and Ice? So they have their own Batterskull. And that Batterskull is going to make it so that I can't Echoing Truth. Fun. Force of Negation, another uncastable spell. I have Play Sword, Equip Sword, Echoing Truth. So I can Echoing Truth now, but that's not going to accomplish anything. I can just return... I don't even have enough mana to return Batterskull to my hand. I can if I don't use Stoneforge Mystic. So I have to wait for opponent to whiff one more turn and try to invest in Batterskull this turn. So I'm not going to have Disenchant up. I can activate both of these at instant speed. So I think my turn is... Oh, I have a Colonnade. Why have I not been attacking with Colonnade? I'm bad at this game. So let's just kill Teferi and open up all of our magic cards. And then opponent pass it. Chat, I'm disappointed in you. Why did nobody be like, 13, you're bad at this game. You have a Colonnade. I haven't played Blue-White Control in so long. I shouldn't be expected to know these things. Oh, if they just put in the Sword of the Meek, I'm going to feel so stupid. Nope, there's the Batterskull. Alright, Scalding Tarn means the opponent's expecting to do something with mana here. If they activate Urza after fetching again, I'm going to feel bad. Yep, there it is. Ooh, there's a Monastery Mentor. Alright, well, I can't really do anything about that at the moment. Echoing Truth can save me, though. I also believe I took out all of my board clears. Yep. So that feels bad. But the fact they're activating Urza again means they're probably not on anything good at the moment. Yep, there's the land. That's why you wait on Scalding Tarn. I think I can make efficient use of my mana, and if they just slam a Thopter Foundry here, it doesn't accomplish a whole lot for them. Misspell Plains. 5, 6, 7. I can hit them. I can bounce Batter Skull, replay it, hold up Echoing Truth or Dovin's Veto. So that's likely what I'm going to do. If they swing in with Monastery Mentor, I can do the shenanigans with the Batter Skull and get a free block if the opponent doesn't see it. Here comes the Sword of the Meek. Alright, opponent. You have Urza. You have some action. I still haven't really found a good source of repeatable damage here. Found a Mishra's Bauble. So that's pretty decent. Mentor tokens are going to get pretty big at this point. Especially because that's also mana for Urza. Another activation. Found a Path to Exile. I think that has to eat the Dovin's Veto. It's impossible opponent doesn't actually cast it, though. So, Dovin's Veto is protecting me from the combo. I have to deal with this Monastery Mentor. If they go to Path of Mystic, then my Germ token will just die to the Mentor. Pathing the Monk. Interesting. It's not like the Monk was attacking this turn. This does get them more mana and also thins their deck. Also gets them closer to finding a Thopter Foundry with Urza. But I do technically have a Stoneforge Mystic, and they're at 9. Alright, what are the odds that they don't have an instant? Probably pretty low. I'll take 4. Gonna crack some Mishra's Bauble, targeting me. That's mildly interesting. Yay, Batter Skull! Opponent gets to draw. They see that we have a Spell Snare, so that's slightly bad for us, but what can you do? So 2 mana, 5. I'm still 1 mana away from being able to equip Sword of Fire and Ice and attack with Colonnade. which means I'm on sort of fire and ice, hold up interaction. Opponent shouldn't be able to do anything with my germ, so in he goes. And in a pinch, I can always Echoing Truth my Batter Skull and then put it back in with Stoneforge. But kind of running out of time for that to be relevant. So Celestial Colonnade with Swords going to hit for 6, ping something for 2. Opponent found a Teferi. I can't let this resolve. With 3 counter spells and bounce all target monk tokens, that cannot resolve. Alright, opponent. You're trying. That was from hand, which means they've been sitting on it. Oh, nope, they're activating Urza. That's a Karn. Do I have to Force of Negation that? Yes, I do. If they got it, they got it. Respect opponent for being able to wait it out. Not getting in with Mentor's slightly weird. That just told me that they didn't have anything. That's an island. So, activate Celestial Colonnade. Equip sort of Feast and Famine. I could have held that to bluff. I could have held that in case I drew a Jace, but... Shoot the Mentor. Draw Mana Leak, which is mildly relevant. This is relevant if the last Urza activation hits something that I care about. And another card. So... They go get Lattice, I counterspell it. They have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this actually has to fetch something. No, it doesn't. They'll just tap all that. May as well just make it if they have something else they can't do it this turn, since I'm not going to be able to activate anything after this. Those soft counters, man, that hurts. All right. Oh, too little, too late. Attack the opponent. Then opponent can start attacking with the Mycosynth Lattice, so likely not making much progress from here. But on the off chance they keep whiffing. I also don't even remember what the game record is. That's going to be a large token. 21-21. Gets the Thopter Foundry. And they're infinite. Do I make them try to kill me? I guess we'll see. I mean, they've got 2 minutes. I can They can only attack for 2 turns. Let's see how long they want to go through this, though. If they start generating a lot of stuff, then we'll make them figure out that they can kill us. They just go for the 1. Makes sense. Alright, well, whatever. That's game. We're not going to win from there. What was the match record there? That's unfortunate. I do think opponent's deck was very greedy. We're just a little slow on it, and their Teferi kept us off countering for a very long time, so what can you do? We take our first loss, but this has been kind of a long one. Wow. We're an hour and 40 minutes in, and we're only 3 matches in. Stoneblade's doing pretty well, though. It's weird that all of our matchups have wanted the Sword of Fire and Ice. I could be wrong. It might be correct that we actually want the Sword of Fire and Ice main and possibly not even have the Sword and Feast of Famine, but Feast and Famine colors are more prevalent in Modern, so... Alright, this is basically everything we want to see in a hand. I think this is probably the best hand we've gotten so far. It is awkward. We want to Squawks the same turn that we want to Spell Snare, but we'll see what opponent's doing before we commit to that. Stoneforge Mystic actually might be better than Squawks, but we have the combo. We have the OP combo. Yeah, so they were running Thopter Sword, Stone Blade, and Karn all in the same deck. No wonder they couldn't figure out how to combo kill us when we were under the Teferi. That was a weird matchup. That was a really weird matchup. Stomping Ground, looking like Arbor Elf. Goblin Guide, it's Zoo. So before this trigger goes off, I'm going to crack, so I'm not incentivized to not crack. I know I want to get Misspell Plains here, so... Opponent now knows about our Supreme Verdict. And... I want to play the Hollowed Fountain so I can Spell Snare and Eidolon of the Great Revel if it's coming, but I'm just going to take the shock and intend on chump blocking with the Squadron Hawk. We get 2 without discarding the hand size. Well, looks like that was supposed to be a Skewer the Critics. Or maybe a Searing Blaze is coming. Well, we found our Stoneforge Mystic. Yay, life gain! This is an Eidolon, though. That feels bad. Hidden Herbalist. Okay, so this is the Revolt Zoo deck. And no payoff. That's slightly weird. Well, without a doubt, Stoneforge Mystic. Gonna try to get the life gain. I'm assuming opponent has Destructive Revelries or Smash the Smithereens on the side. But if this Batter Skull sticks, we're happy. In the meantime, we're taking 4, going to 11. Sad Panda. If we had a land, we could have potentially like Spell Pierce that. I don't know, something. So I don't want to bounce either of these creatures. This feels like an opportune time for a Supreme Verdict, though. Mildly concerned opponent's been slow rolling creatures. Very possible they just Burning Tree Emissary, Hidden Herbalists, Bushwhacker, not necessarily in that order. That's a lot of Curd Apes. That's a Path to Exile. So, Squawks, Chump Block, Hold. Opponent's not actually at a point they can burn us out, so I am going to at least point. How did I not tap for a single blue? Okay. I've got this. We're good. Jace here. We're going to bounce the Curd Ape. We're going to force them to attack Jace. Then we can path it, and then they'll send Burn at him. And that would have gained us a pretty decent chunk of life, actually. Or are they just... Oh, they're going after me. They don't even care about Jace. So, likely dead then. They have a Curd Ape, probably a Boros Charm, and maybe another Bolt. There's the path. This did turn on Revolt for them. Yep, there's the Burning Tree. Curd Ape. Sword of Feast and Famine. Okay, well, if that's not a Boros Charm, then my line to surviving this right now is currently Bounce Curd Ape, Slam Batterskull. Kind of a rough day to be playing Burn. I guess they could technically have Skull Cracks and just go for the cheesy. I actually think I knew about that second Curd Ape. Alright, that's a turn. So Jace is going to draw us a couple of fresh cards. Nothing particularly helpful, though. So definitely tuck into Squadron Hawks. Spell Pierce has not been remotely relevant. We can Squadron Hawk to shuffle our deck, go get another Squadron Hawk. Actually, two, because we failed to find one of them. There's two Squawks. Then Narset, look for Path. Opt, look for Path. Narset, because she's going to have more shots at it as well as being a presence on the board. I'll take the Force of Negation. I guess that saves me against sorcery stuff. Oh, and opponent just scoops it up. Doesn't even want me to attack with the Germ. So I probably should have waited on that, just because waiting on that would have meant that they wouldn't have seen the Narset. They should have a pretty decent idea of what our deck is doing at this point. Cop comes in. Circle of Protection red. Yes, it is modern legal. So we'll basically make it so that their red things don't deal damage as long as we're willing to tax for one. Wrath of God because it's Zoo, not Burn. We can Ruined Halo. Honestly, they have a lot of redundant threats. We can name something like Curd Ape if we see two of them, and it's a 2-for-1, but opponents should be bringing in Destructive Revelry since we have artifacts, and we're going to have the enchantment, so not stoked about that. Echoing Truth can buy us some time, especially if they're on the Swift Spear plan, which they weren't. This could save us from a Destructive Revelry. Not good enough on its own, though. Opponent did not show us any spells, so I'm going to trim on Spell Pierces. We did see a bolt, but a single bolt does not make Spell Pierce good. Teferi can come in just for bouncy and life gain, although most of their creatures care about Revolt and end up paying their mana cost when they enter. Opponents trying for very fast wins. Any trims that I'm overly stoked about? Narset's kind of medium. Slow board clears. Feast and Famine's probably not good enough, and we are bringing in sort of Fire and Ice. V-Click can block profitably. Mana Tithe can actually be relevant in their deck. Maybe the Settle's awkward. Let's just trim a Narset. We can run it like that. I have to go off mic 1 second. I need to let the dog out. Okay, apologies. Dog was locked in the room. I think he was hungry. So we have a Path on 1, a Force of Negation. Jace is slow, but we get Batterskull, single land. I don't want to opt to find a land on turn 2. And that means we're shocking. I think we could do a little bit better. This is... Well, we have Spell Snare on 1. That's still not great. Opponent also mulled to 6. I think I'm going to 5. I just need to find a mana base. Not a great mana base, but we have our cop, so sure, let's do that. We tutor the sword, settles expensive. Likely dying with this hand, though. But we'll go out in a blaze of glory. Goblin Guide. Fix our mana. Fix our mana. Spell Snare. Alright, now opponent knows about the Spell Snare. Makes it significantly less effective. Cop pretty much keeps Goblin Guide in check, so likely going to run that out, assuming we don't find a third land off this Goblin Guide. Ooh, boy. Damage is a-coming. Can I take back what I said about Echoing Truth? It's looking pretty tasty right about meow. So Snap can block. That's going to stop 2 damage. Circle's going to stop 4 next turn, but it's going to tap me out. I can hold up the Spell Snare in case they have a Bushwhacker. Yeah, I think Snap's going to flash block. And there's an opt. Okay, well, blocking the Burning Tree because it doesn't actually benefit us. That's a Curd Ape. There's an opt. I'm just going to look for a land and then probably concede. Hey, look, we did find one. So, Cop comes down. I had to tap my white source for that. So I'm taking 6 here. Opponent has a bolt or anything. I can't. I have no interaction. Opponent gets it. Okay. Do better this time. The Ruined Halo is looking slightly more appealing just because that is a permanent solution. Oh, nope. That's a very nice special. There we go. Let's do that. Ruined Halo is double white. It's a little bit harder to cast than the Echoing Truth, but probably not relevant enough to... I mean, it's a sideboard card that costs 2 mana and can be a 2-for-1. It's about all we're really looking for in this matchup. Opponent has... I assume they have to step away. They shouldn't have that many options for play versus draw. They're just trying to empty their hand as fast as possible. We have 24 lands. Where are they? Sure. I'm going to tuck the Colonnade because it's tapped. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wanted to get a Misspell Plains with this if they don't have something with haste. But now I'm going to have to get a blue source with it. I am willing to see if I want this card, so we're going to let Goblin Guide reveal it first. It's an opt. I don't want it. I'm taking 2 damage either way, so let's be mana efficient. Just kill it now. This turns on a 2-drop as a live draw. Stoneforge Mystic would be super nice here. That's not a Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, well, it is going to get me a dual land. Opponent should also be running Wild Nicodle, so I can't imagine that they're running Blood Moons. They get a lot of their power from cheesing out hasty things. If they have any land hate, it's probably going to be an Alpine Moon. Called it. Oh boy. That's a cop. Teferi's still going to prevent 3 damage off this Nikotl. They left up the Wooded Foothills to go get the Plains to grow this to be a 3/3, where Cop's only going to save 2 this turn, so I'm going to Teferi with hopes of drawing into a board clear. Look at that. Sometimes it's good to pay attention. Then hopefully opponent will actually send some damage into Teferi. It's not likely that they have instants or sorceries that they care about. I mean, Bolt could be fine, but a Curt Ape's 2 damage, Bolt is 3, so the Bolt would go to my face. They could just let it stick around, though. Most of their creatures are happy with leaving the battlefield and coming back. Card draw's not great, but they are trying to burn me. Show me what you got, opponent. You have 3 cards, one of which is a wild Nikotl. Alright, decided to do combat first. Both at me. Not overly surprising. Let's see how much they empty their hand. So, hasty things are bad. Yeah, whatever. It's a 3 for 1. This is why you play these cards. Whoops, I didn't plus Teferi. I F6 too fast. I was so happy about my verdict. It was kill all the things. If this is a bushwhacker, I'm sad. Yep, there he is. So that sends 5 to me. I can cop, hold up 2, prevent damages. That's a Stoneforge. I think Stoneforge is a little too slow here. Let's see if they brought in the artifact destruction. Circle of Protection red, I didn't even realize was modern legal a little while ago. You can pay 1 to prevent all damage from a single red source. Choose that effect. We're going to pay 1. Choose this effect. Then this Hex Drinker actually gets pretty nasty pretty fast, so I need to find myself another board clear. Chance for Glory. Okay, that does it. GG's opponent was not expecting for them to go all out on that. So they get an extra turn, they're going to swing in for 6, I'm at 5. And we lose it to Zoo. Extra turn Zoo of all things. Alright, that puts us down to 2-2. Cawblade's been doing fine, though. We've lost to the Fringe decks, which kind of says something. I did take out most of my non-creature removal because the opponent only showed us the lightning bolts and the like. Love to play first, and this is when it's slightly awkward, but it's more of the fact that we have 5 lands. Turn 2 Squadron Hawk probably isn't good enough. We can do a little bit better. Oh yeah, like that. That's gorgeous. I love this. Tuck the Sword of Feast and Famine. It's not relevant yet. We also have 2 Stoneforge Mystics to tutor both. And it's Tron. So likely just going for Batterskull and trying to race. Field of Ruin's pretty good. I just don't want to reveal it yet. So life total doesn't matter. Just going to go for the Hallowed Fountain. Stoneforge Mystic. So this will make them discard. I can't equip it next turn versus being able to attack for 4. Yeah, it's the Batterskull. There's probably a world where if they didn't keep 7, I could put out sort of Feast and Famine and just cause them to discard their entire hand and keep applying pressure, but at the moment it's Batterskull. And they have Tron assembled, which means I'm taking a turn off to Field of Ruin. Just doing this now. No, I'm not. We're going to do it in their draw step. That's technically more correct. Yeah, they had a really good draw. They went for the mine. So the general logic with Tron is they play their most protected piece first, which means they more likely have another power plant, but conventional logic always says they have additional tower. Tower's technically the right play because it taps for 3 and the rest only tap for 2. I will not be surprised if they have an additional tower, but to try to hedge against that, I waited for turn 3 before revealing the fact I had a Field of Ruin. Yeah, this looks a wee bit rough. I mean, I have Mana Leak. Oh my gosh. Oh, Tron. Tron. Never change, Tron. They're activating this because A, it's correct, B, it's a legal play, and C, because they are afraid I might have a Field of Ruin, or a Crucible of Worlds. Spell Snare. Little late for you, buddy. Would have loved to have had you for that Sylvan Scrying. Spell Pierce. Lovely. So, shipping it back, get a hold up the Stoneforge activation, have Mana Leak or Spell Pierce if they go for a Planeswalker. But they got it. You have Tron. How bad are you going to punish me? They don't have a threat. Okay, so we still have a shot here. Also, I have Counter Magic. What you're supposed to do versus Tron is let them run out their cantrips and counter the things that actually matter. They have a limited number of bombs, but a lot of ways to find it. Look at that. That's a real card. Does mean I'm waiting for another turn for this, though. Activating Relic here makes my Snapcaster worse. Alright, this is Snapcaster for Mana Leak if I get the opportunity. My life total doesn't matter, so let's go ahead and just take the Hollowed Fountain. There is a world where I want a Stoneforge Mystic, but they also have the Oblivion Stone. Yeah, I can't. So we're going to wait for the Batterskull. Ghost Quarter's a real card. We have Colonnade, so... Yep, I unfortunately have to let that happen. On the plus side, though, I can activate Batterskull if they go to blow it with O-Stone. Opponent currently has 6 mana. Worm Coil, do it! You won't be able to pop the Relic. Okay, that works too. I actually get to use the Mana Leak and they have a Relic out. That feels good. That feels really good. I thought opponent would try to get sneaky and try to activate the Relic in response, but I guess they're fine with that. I mean, they did fade damage for a turn. Ooh, Force of Negation is a super nice pickup. Sort of feast and famine. So they have three things in their hand, one of which is no, the Oblivion Stone's on the table. So they ran out the Walking Ballista because they didn't have another threat. I can put. No, I can't. Whatever. We're just gonna attack with Snapcaster Mage. Need two more mana to drop Sort of Feast and Famine, and also activate. Yep, that's a star. You do you, opponent. You should probably have 1 to 2 more Walking Ballistas and then a couple of Planeswalkers. Wow, they had a lot of chromatics. But go ahead and keep going. No threat yet. Interesting pause here. Okay. Decide to keep going? You got it. 5 mana, leaving up enough to blow O-Stone. Force of Negation's a little bit of coverage, though, and I'll be able to keep my Batterskull around. Oh boy. That's not great. That might be the end of it. So I currently have 7, 8, and 9 mana. They did not have the additional land yet. I can draw into my last mana leak. I could always take the hit with the Settle the Wreckage. 4 cards in hand covers them from Sort of Feast and Famine. Let's see, is there anything else? Ooh, V-Click is a live draw. Oh, squawks. Squawk, squawk, squawks. You two get in. Yep. Bounce my Batterskull. Then I actually think I'm running out squawks here. Let's see. If I Stoneforge Mystic and they just Ulamog, then they'll eat a Stoneforge Mystic and a land, or potentially just both lands. I have a Batterskull. If I run out squawks, I thin my deck a little bit and also get a couple of flying chump blockers. But they will for sure target my lands. Alright, well, I think I want to keep my lands around, so let's run out the Stoneforge Mystic. That'll get us a Sort of Feast and Famine, which is just card positive in my hand. Also gives us a lot of future mana, assuming that we get it equipped and hit somebody. Then hopefully opponent actually uses an Ulamog to eat the Stoneforge Mystic. Then I can squawks, refill my hand, run out the Sort of Feast and Famine, equip and run out chump blockers until the end of time. Or they just whiff on lands and I draw V-Click. I also like that one. Nope. Alright, Ulamog's coming down. Path is also a live draw. They don't have a Sanctum, so don't have to worry about a follow-up threat. Now, where do you want to point it? Alright, Stoneforge Mystic down. Top decking a land, Squawks and Feast. Okay, that's also acceptable. Bye-bye. It's more correct to wait until their turn, but they've been cantripping for a while. They don't have a threat. Like, whatever. It is what it is. Then we get 2 Squawks. Draw a ton of cards. They may all be Squawks, but they're cards. And ship it on over to opponent. Holding up Spell Pierce or Force of Negation if relevant. This looks so bad at the moment. Alright, well that's not a threat. That might be a problem. They have the 2 mana up. That is really unfortunate. All right, well, I'm not going to tell them I'm countering it. Let them actually use Sanctum to go get what they'll get. There's a Walking Ballista. I don't think I can beat the Walking Ballista. They still have plenty of coverage for the Sword of Feast and Famine. Okay. You got it. Oh, so close to Sword of Feast and Famine being good. Opponent does know about it, though. Alright, well, Path is kind of live. So what's happening is swing in with Squawks, run out the Sword of Feast and Famine, just because it's most mana efficient. I can hold up the path for the incoming Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista gets to wreck my board and put me lethal to an Ulamog attack, but... I mean, Tron's seen 27 cards and we're playing a blue deck. At a certain point, we're going to run out of gas. Okay, do you have another Sanctum? Or is this a Blast Zone? Blast Zone it is. Opponent has 9 mana. Oh, and the Oblivion Stone? Jeez, where were you hiding all those cards, opponent? Just had all the good stuff going on. So trying to figure out if they're going to Walking Ballista for 3, I'm assuming. Or if they just want to tick up the Blast Zone to blow up the Sword of Feast and Famine. Yeah, you got to do that, otherwise you're getting hit by the sword. I guess I could have blown an O-Stone. Alright, well, no attacking bird feels bad, man, but... Yep. Bye, Squawks. You tried. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take the land here. 1 damage isn't very relevant, and thinning the deck if they have a 4th forest. Yep. I think 4 forest is pretty stock. I want to say Todd Stevens tried to do 5 back in the day, but I might be wrong about that. Alright. Opponent hasn't actually shown us anything relevant. They have the Blast Zone, though. They're not going to be able to do everything this turn. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They can blow the O-Stone, have 7 mana left over, crank up the Blast Zone. Ugh, so much of this is bad. Okay, well, I'm going to try to fade for a turn. Try to get them to pop the O-Stone before I commit any further to the board. I think that's my best line to win here, is to try to trade the O-Stone for a Squawks and the sword. Yep, Mana Leak wasn't going to get me out of that. Don't really have an answer. We have some decent cards in the deck, but they just have a couple of rounds of coverage. Dovin's Veto comes in. Teferi could be a consideration. Bounce Worm Coil is completely acceptable. Elspeth, she just gets removed by so much. Ugin can't necessarily answer her, but the Karn can. I'm probably going to try to go a little heavier on my threats here. I don't really think the attrition plan for Squawks is going to work. Either they fizzle and we get a shot to kill them, or we'll be able to close this out. I do like having the swords as additional ways to win. The creatures are fine. Mana Leaks are fine. Spell Pierce is okay. I'm not excited about Spell Pierce, but grabbing their early lands, like, they had turn 3 Tron through Disruption, so I don't know what to say about that game. We can surgical for the Field of Ruin. That's bad. That's bad. Teferi's fine. I think the only consideration left is disenchant for O-Stone and Elspeth for an additional finisher. The trims would probably be the spell pierces. Again, if these grab the land stuff early enough, especially on the play, that's good. I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to trade the spell pierces for disenchants on the draw, just because disenchant can answer something if they're trying to buy time. Spell snare can only grab. I can see that. Spell snare will only get the Sylvan Scrying. We'll run it like that. Disenchant definitely has some value, not a ton, but some. Single land can't do it. This is okay. I'm not super excited about it, but we have cards that do things, and we'll keep them off their threats. Hopefully Snapcaster early enough off of the Mana Tithe or the Spell Pierce so that we actually get a small clock going. And if we're tucking... This is such a good fun of, but we'll hit their star on one with that. So I suppose it's just going to be the Force of Negation. I want to draw that later in the game when it's relevant. I'm likely not going to need to tap out for it early enough. I don't know, that might have been greedy, but we have so much interaction. Alright, well, we have an Ambush Viper now. Life total doesn't matter. I'm going to represent both of my interactions. Mana Tithe counter up! I'm so glad we did that once tonight. Stoneforge? Mana Leak. Still okay. So I'm not going to really worry about a star here or anything like that. I'll just Snapcaster if they just do small cantrips. If they're going to go find Tron, then yeah, that gets countered. I don't like that. You have lands that cheat at counting. That one gets to resolve, though. What'd you find? Star. That'd be nice if I had a third land. Bounce the ley line. Well, it might not matter in a moment. Yep, you get your star. Alright, well, I do eventually need to close out this game. I can technically bounce the ley line, get some value out of Snapcaster, but whatever. His 2 damage is more important than sitting in hand trying to get value future turns down. I do believe since opponent is on the cusp of Tron, it might be relevant enough for me to... They lost 2 of their tutors. They top decked the Tron piece. Okay, I'm going to try to fade for a turn and just run out the Teferi. And I do want to draw a card, so may as well put Leyline back into hand. Turn on future Snapcaster mages. If opponent slams Tron and kills me here, then I guess I deserve it. Yeah, Ghost Quarter's fine. That feels a little bad, but disenchant? Rip. Opt? That's a Jace. Jace can rebuild. Jace can definitely rebuild. That doesn't matter. We get a tick up. This is my turn 5. Opponent hasn't missed a land drop, so it's very possible they just slam a land in O-Stone. If opponent has a heads up, they're going to slam O-Stone on my instep. Just take the 2 damage. Wow, they do not want me to have a graveyard. I have 3 Snapcaster mages. That's a colonnade. they tap themselves out of Oblivion Stone this turn. I'm not running out the Jace because that's about the only way I can win this game. Pops the Relic. Fair enough. Jace Bounce Snapcaster also could have been a line. I'm not a fan of it, but just for completion's sake. Oh, and they missed their land again. So get a bounce Oblivion Stone and then counter it on the way back down. Found it, just a turn too late. Oh, and that's another Teferi. Alright, so bounce you. And I found another Snapcaster. That's amazing. So, opponent has 5 mana, which means they're 2 turns away from Karn. I have counters for Karn, but guess that means Teferi's going up. Bouncing Snapcaster is a little bit of value there, but I'm going to be tapping out for pretty much the future couple of turns, so Mana Leak that while Mana Leak is live. Pray for the Shameland. Shameland? No Shameland. Opt. Alright, Snappy, get in. Do things. If opponent passes to their end step, likely just going to opt, snap, opt, so I can increase my clock a little bit. Opponent getting to 7 lands is kind of the danger zone here, so prefer to close this out while I can. Don't really need that. That's actually a really nice draw. We get a snap. Recast opt. Come on back, opt. There we go. Mana Leak. I actually want to land right now, so beautiful. 1, 2, 3. Sword. Teferi's locking opponent out from doing anything, so this is going to 100% resolve. And this should be a concession. Guess not. Not doing anything with the mana, so I'll go get my Misspell Plains in case I find a Squawks. The Alpha. Opponent's on a 2-turn clock. I shouldn't have always yielded to that, but whatever. We're in a safe enough spot. Again, he doesn't really do anything at the moment, so that's fine. Actually, the correct line was to bounce my Snapcaster Mage so I could re-Dovin's Veto, so an opponent has 2 non-creatures. Or just Mana Leak. Alright, Game 3. Should update the record. So bad at that. We're currently 1-1 versus Tron, 2-2 overall. So this is going to be for the cash out. What changes? Spell Snare on the draw gets a little bit better. Spell Pierce can hit the Planeswalkers though, so I'm not making that exchange. Mana Leak can hit, again, their threats. More specifically, can also hit Wormcoil Engine. Do I want to make the trade V-Click for Spell Snare? This is actually a respectable clock with Evasion. Narset stops all their cantrips. Teferi does... whatever, it's fine. Spell Snare for Sylvan Scrying just is not worth it in my opinion. Okay, we have a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, Sword of Feast and Famine, and a V-Click. It's not great, but this is what our deck wants to do. I'm hoping opponent has to stumble a little bit here. And opponent's currently on 6, so I'm willing to hang on to this. It's also a Colonnade on 1. And I love my Colonnades on 1. Alright, opponent has their map. Ooh, so I actually might be on Mana Leak on 2 if opponent just slams a Tron land here. Oh, and they just have the Tron. Okay. Force of Negation. Does that change things? So, Stoneforge Mystic, go get Batter Skull. Opponent slams a Karn, I'm fine. Slams a Worm Coil. I don't really have a way to beat it. I can disenchant it and then start slowly trading off the germs for the other things and hold up Force of Negation for any future threats. Okay, well, I have to put up a fast enough clock, and it looks like opponent's going to be on the Nutter Butters. So I'm just going to hope that my Force of Negation will get me there. And try to get my Batter Skull out and at least represent lethal. Yep. It's also possible that they just crack the Expedition map and go get one more. Walking Ballista. Ouch. Walking Ballista might have been a reason to take out the Vendilion Click. I don't want to disenchant that. Opponent only has one card in hand. Okay, 2. If I V-click, it doesn't do anything. If I disenchant, it means I'm taking at least 6 damage from this Walking Ballista. One was off the top. Hope and a prayer. So if opponent's on action, hopefully it's just an Ugin or a Karn. I can force it, and... Alright, well this is going to go get Sanctum. They got a Forest. So Sylvan Scrying? They don't have a threat? Nope, that's a Worm Coil. Or not? Oh, Stone. Honestly, with how weak my board is, I'm assuming this Vendalion Click's going to get them to pop the Oblivion Stone, which is why I didn't really pause that long on it. Holding up 1 mana is not going to do anything, so we're on V-Click, and we're going to do it during their draw step. What did you get, opponent? I would like to see. Thragtusk, another O-Stone. Alright, well, Thragtusk is actually going to be a little difficult to interact with. I can Sword, but I won't be able to deal with the token. So bye, Thragtusk. If opponent doesn't find a threat here, I wouldn't be surprised to see O-Stone and start putting Oblivion counters on the other one. Just that it frees up mana for future turns. I need to not F6. I have a Force of Negation. That Force makes a lot more sense that they had the Thragtusk, though. Narset. Alright, well, we have them on a 7-turn clock, and they have 2 O-Stones. Narset at least cantrip, so I think I'm just going to run her out. This might be a loose play. Like, I kind of have control of the board, but opponent's inevitability is making me want to push so I actually get a real clock going. And this finding a Planeswalker can definitely make it so I'm favored. A non-Narset Planeswalker. I mean, even finding another Narset, they crack the Oblivion Stone and they get forced into it. I should have shocked in that Hollowed Fountain. Fate counter on the Relic. They do not like my Snapcaster mages. Little loose, you want to do that my in-step or during combat. Just in case I want to run out something pre-board. Alright, Path to Exile. Not necessarily what I was looking for. Batter Skull should force them to pop that Oblivion Stone. If they wait until I untap, then I have the ability to return it to my hand, so this should be coming out now. And that should put opponent on nothing. We can run out our sort of Feast and Famine, start swinging in with Celestial Colonnade. Wonder if they forgot I had Batter Skull. That looked like a really reaching pop of the Relic. Yep, you got it. They had another one. I found all of their Oblivion Stones. I want this Force of Negation to counter a real threat, which is why I haven't really considered popping it for any of the Oblivion Stones. But whatever, hopefully Colonnade can just go the distance. I get a hold up Path to Exile if they find a creature, and I put them on a 5-turn clock. They still haven't gotten a Sanctum of Ugin yet, so if they find a threat, then they only have the one threat. And that's why we've been waiting. Spell Pierce. To be mana efficient, I'll run out the Sword of Feast and Famine. This means O-Stone gets to be a 2-for-1, but kind of running out of options. I'd love a Squadron Hawk. Like, I'd absolutely love one. Just draw 3 cards. Put a threat out, pop the Oblivion Stone. Walking Ballista for 2. Well, that gets around my mana leak. And it's eating a path. They can pump it and shoot me 3 times or twice and go get a forest, but they're leaving up 4 mana. Not sure why. That could have been an additional counter. I would absolutely love a Squadron Hawk. Where are our Kaws? Okay, that's bad. That's Ulamog mana. 6. Mana Leak still alive? Alright, Sword of Feast and Famine, probably Glacial Fortress. I'd love a legitimate threat. Just going after the 2 lands. Interesting. They must have another Ulamog. That just puts me down to 2 lands and I'm basically out of it. Oh, lovely. Show me the Ulamog. Alright, looks like we dodge a threat for the moment. Wow. I wanted to keep the fetch land around in case I top deck a Jace. Jace would allow me to brainstorm and possibly tuck this sort of Fire and Ice back into the deck. Shuffle effects are just quite strong. That's going to go get them either Blast Zone or more likely Sanctum of Ugin. Now I'm going to go grab my Mistveil Plains and start tucking stuff back into the deck that I might care about. I'm okay having some instants and sorceries in the yard in case I find another Snapcaster Mage. It can at least force the issue on the Relic and give me a target for... Ooh, that's a card. So that lets me hit Tower or Mine, which means they don't get Ugin. That's a Worm Coil. Alright. So I need a path here. Let's hit that. Yep, that's fine. And then I'm going to try to tuck my Field of Ruin. Although I need to actually... Oh, I don't have the 2 white permanents. Yep, that makes sense. We'll get our island. So I think I want Path at the moment. Actually, I just want Snapcaster Mage. That kind of works. They can't pop the O-Stone now, so run this guy out. We'll equip the Sword of Feast and Famine. No point in searching. Batterskull's in exile. Both swords are in play. Opponent's going to be able to hit me at least once. Yep, there's the tower that they tutored. I'm letting that hit me because that gives them the option to just blow the O-Stone and shatter the Worm Coil, or that allows me to hit them, make them discard a card, and get my lands. Ooh, that's interesting. Same reasoning as last time. I kind of want to put the 4 mana out, consider it for a second. I don't want opponents to know I'm holding exactly Narset. This is also going to incentivize them to wait to pop the Oblivion Stone. Let's get our beats on. Honestly, I don't think floating my mana does much there. We can go ahead and Narset, look for a better threat, a good threat. Path is fine. So now I'm going to wait for them to pop O-Stone to Path so that they don't get the pieces for it. Opponent likely going after Narset here. Oh, they're just going after me? That's fine. Popping Narset first thing. This is our chance to rebuild. Oh, look at that. There's a Jace. That's a beautiful Jace. Let's go ahead and opt first. Colonnade doesn't actually do much here. Path is fine, but they've got the... Or Snap is fine, but they've got the Relic. Yeah, let's go ahead and just swing in. You got it, opponent. Okay, so I'm going to Flash and Snapcaster Mage and block, and then try to Path. This Oblivion Stone's making the permanent math really hard. Spell Pierce. Yep, that's going to happen. Exile target permanent. Spell Pierce wouldn't have made it so that Oblivion Stone couldn't get cracked. Opponent's going to try to kill me. Yeah, this has to be the sequencing. So I'm going to brainstorm. I do have the path to exile, which means I can at least fog a combat step, and I have my search effect ready. So yeah, there's a Stoneforge Mystic as well as a Field of Ruin, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to tutor up the sort of Fire and Ice with the Stoneforge Mystic, and Spell Pierce doesn't really do anything for me here. So let's go ahead and Field of Ruin. Field of Ruin, target the Tron land, get back. We're going to have to wait a turn on that. I'd prefer not to take the shock. Opponent's still going to kill me with a Walking Ballista, so whatevs. Unfortunately, I'm pinched enough on mana, and I'm trying to do enough in a turn. I'm not getting the benefit of the shuffle from Stoneforge Mystic or the Squadron Hawks, but we have a pretty decent board state. If opponent wants to try to exile something, they lose their Karn. Yep, you got it. They're running out of threats. Karn hit Stoneforge and then pop Oblivion Stone's likely what's about to happen here. Yep. Oh, you have an Ugin too? Okay, that might be the game then. So I'm going to opt. I don't really have an answer to this. Yeah, it's definitely not Colonnade. Teferi would have been a decent card last turn. Maybe I missequenced that. I don't have a Colonnade to hit the Ugin. I don't have... Hitting Narset. Okay, so I did reveal this path with Narset. Opponent should know that I have it. Is Ruined Halo on my side? Yes, it is. I don't think I can fog the Ugin damage. They let that path happen. Okay. Surgical extraction. I don't want to pay the 2 life for that. Alright, let's look for an answer. Dovin's Veto, Teferi. Alright, so we don't need the second Teferi. I don't want to pay the life for the surgical extraction or I'll die. So Celestial Colonnade's going to suit up for the attack. Teferi gets to come down. Bounce the... Do I want to bounce the Oblivion Stone? May as well. We get to hit the... Yep, fail to find. Pretty sure opponent fails to find. Then we have Dovin's Veto, and then we can untap with Celestial Colonnade. Yep, ouch, the pain. I don't think we win this, though. Opponent's only got 5 mana, so gonna counter this. Alright. Well, I can't fetch. I also don't know the top of my deck. That's another Jace. There's an Opt. So I can Field of Ruin to shuffle. So Jace goes... Actually, I might be casting Jace to look. I don't know. I know my deck, and I don't have an answer for another Ugin activation. Batter Skulls and Exile a card would work wonders here. I think we're just out of luck. So I'm just going to tuck the 2 most worthless cards. Then may as well plus Teferi for funsies. We can activate the Colonnade. Suit it up with Sword of Feast and Famine. We'll go ahead and just hit our opponent, get rid of the last card in their hand. Ugin's plus is the damage, so it's not really going to affect us at all. We get a yield and untap everything. Oh, I should have opted in response to that. But Field of Ruin. Yep, I mean, we know it's on top. Jace. Keep the new one. Brainstorm. We have Mana Tithe. That would have helped so much. Opt. Opponent's cracking their expedition map. We're just flexing. It's been a good game. Kavathe, I think is how you say that. Whatever. Good game. Put Surgical to the bottom, redraw the Mana Tithe. We can go ahead and play our Sword of Feast and Famine and ship it on over for them to ping us. GG's. Well, that was a fight. So unfortunately went 2-3 with Cawblade, but whatever. I love the Hawks. Been playing a lot of them lately. I do think we need 3 Jaces. The entire power of this deck is the fact that Squawks and Stoneforge Mystic shuffle our deck. The 2 Jaces and 2 Narsets and 1 Teferi, 1 in the side just isn't really good enough. Jace is the powerhouse of the deck. Cop ended up being a little bit slow versus the Zoo deck. I do think Timely Reinforcements is the correct call, but kind of wanted to play with the Cop. I do a lot of fun ofs with my streams. But overall, I mean, the deck is doing fine. Like, I don't think that Stoneforge really broke anything. Like, it's not an absolutely busted card. I don't think anybody expected it to be. It is fairly strong. We ended up playing the matchups where there was a lot of blue. I think Sword and Feast and Famine is actually the correct call for Modern. I could be wrong about that. Time will tell. Sort of Fire and Ice is significantly better in Legacy, where there's all the Brainstorm decks and significantly more bolts. I think protecting against push is a little bit more relevant in Modern at the moment. But yeah, I mean, yay, Stoneforge is back. Love my girl. She's awesome. Either way, guys, I am thirteene. I do a bunch of fun streams. This is the most competitive deck I've played in months, and it's because it was the deck that came around when Modern was first developed, and the reason a lot of those cards were banned. If you do have a fun deck idea and you'd like to share it or get some feedback on it, feel free to send it to dex@squirreldealer.com. Happy to take a look. Won't guarantee it'll go on stream, but very happy to take a look. We've done about 7 months worth of content, doing a lot of stuff. Martyr Proc's probably the go-to, a couple of homebrews, fringe decks. Trying to play the more fun decks, getting the fun stuff out of Modern. If you'd like to check those out, feel free to check out Squirrel Dealer. We do content 5 nights a week. You can see my schedule over there on the left. I have Bradwan also streaming. He does competitive decks on Tuesdays, Thursdays. If you do like our content, all the stuff is hosted at Squirrel Dealer staff. You can just follow that, watch it. It'll always direct you to the right channel. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, feel free to hit me up on Reddit. I do a couple of occasional posts, but either way, just try to have some fun. GG's. We had a couple of really good opponents tonight. But yeah, I think that's about it. Well, thanks for hanging around, guys. We actually do have a decent number of people. If somebody has somebody they'd like to recommend, I'm perfectly okay to send the raid over. If not, I'll try to find somebody. Honestly, Twitch, finding less known people isn't necessarily my forte. Usually Bradwan points me the right direction, but I don't think he's following tonight. Let's see, is anybody doing anything fun? Oh, Caleb. Caleb's actually a pro player. Let's go ahead and just raid him. We don't have a lot of people, but we'll send him over. Again, though, thanks for hanging out, guys. This is post-ban. I assume Caleb's doing something fun. He does a lot of awesome decks. He's also on Team Modern Super League. They do great stuff. But fun hanging out, and enjoy your night.